Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Hello guys, welcome back to our class. So today we have chapter 7 where we are going to look and learn about agriculture. Okay, so agriculture is also another very popular term. This term we hear about it almost every day, something related to agriculture. When we buy vegetables, when we talk about farmers, when we buy fruits, we do somehow talk about agriculture, right? So in this chapter we are going to look at what agriculture means and its various types, and also the other factors which are responsible for the development and growth of agriculture, also that causes decline or hampers the development in the agriculture in our country. Okay, so first question that arrives in our head when we learn about certain topic or title, say for example agriculture, what do we ask? We ask, what is agriculture? We know what agriculture is, right? When we talk about farmers, when we talk about vegetables, when we talk about rice, flour, etc., we always associate it with the term agriculture. We know that these crops form or are part of agriculture. But what exactly is agriculture? How do we define it? So agriculture is the process of producing food, the production of food, okay, seed, fiber and other goods by the systematic raising of plants and animals. So this is called agriculture, the entire process of production of food, seed, fiber and other goods by a system of raising plants and animals. So we often understand as agriculture, it only associates with plants. It does not associate or include animals, but actually agriculture involves both plants and animals, and it's raising, okay, and in raising them, in raising the plants and animals, the production of food that takes place, that process, that entire process is called agriculture. We all know agriculture is very important, right? Without agriculture, how will we get our food? Right? So agriculture is very important to our sustenance, to the development of a country, to a society, to a community. Okay? And agriculture is linked with human history, how humans have evolved over time. That event of evolution is always linked with agriculture. Okay, because as humans evolve, they learn or they try to cope up with how to produce their food, how to grow their food, right? So over time, as they evolve, they also evolve methods of food production. Okay, so human history, how humans have lived in the past and how humans live in the present, all that has link with agriculture, very deep link. The link is deep. Okay, and agriculture is very crucial or important for social change. With agriculture, we see how the society changes, right? What kind of food do we consume or eat right now? But what kind of food did people eat 10 or 100 years ago? So all that also leads to changes, okay? And agriculture, it is one sector where most of the people have occupation. Okay, so agriculture is primary occupation for many people in a country. Okay, most of the people in the countryside, in the rural areas, they're all involved in agriculture. They work as farmers, they work as laborers in cultivation of crops in the land. Okay, and that is why agriculture provides means of livelihood to almost 70% of the workforce in our country. So almost 70%, which is So out of 100%, imagine 70% depend upon agriculture for their livelihood. So majority of people in our country depend on agriculture to get their livelihood, to get sustenance, to sustain themselves. Okay, agriculture is the sector where they work and they take care of themselves, they earn their living. Okay, so that amount, the number of people, the percentage of people who depend on agriculture is 70%, almost 70%. Okay, now agriculture is important for society, for community, for people, for social change. It's also important for economy, the economic sector of any country, of our country as well as other countries. Okay, now India, when we look at India, India is an agricultural country where almost 70% of its people depend on agriculture or have or has primary occupation in agriculture. Okay, and India's economy depends on agriculture as well. Okay, so like we said before, majority of people are engaged in agricultural activities. Okay, so 2/3 of the entire population, 2/3, that means more than half of the population of our country, they're engaged in agricultural activities. Okay, now with agriculture, what do we get? We get food. Food is produced, right? So that is primary outcome of agriculture, that is the output or result of agriculture. But besides producing food grains, agriculture also produces raw materials. Now raw materials are required for industries, factories, and from there, using the raw materials which come from agriculture, the industries and factories, they manufacture finished goods. Okay, like for example, cotton. Cotton is raw material which comes from agriculture, right? Cotton are grown by the farmers and the cotton is then sent or used by the industries. Now industries use this cotton, which is a raw material, to make finished goods, which are clothes, cotton clothes, okay, linen, bed sheets, fabric, etc. Alright, so that is how agriculture also plays a very important role in the industries, okay, in the industrial sector. So agriculture promotes industrialization. Okay, as the industrialization takes place, the industries develop, the industries increase in their production, in their manufacture. It always needs agriculture to support it. Okay, so agriculture promotes the growth of the industries, promotes the production of products that industries manufacture. Okay, and some of the agricultural products, okay, not all products that come out as a result of the process of agriculture are food. Some of them are not food, okay, non-food, they are not consumed as food, they are exported, or some are consumed only in one country and they are exported for consumption in another country. Okay, or some are called cash crops. So these are various kinds of crops which result out or come out of the agriculture. Okay, so there are some agricultural products which are tea, coffee, spices. They are exported. They are used in a country as well, but they are also exported to other countries. Okay, because in the other countries there is great demand for these agricultural products. Okay, now over time agriculture has seen changes in its methods, okay, in how the crops are grown, how the crops are sown, when it's sown, with the use of technology, with the use of primitive technology or modern technology. The methods have changed and that has also influenced the result. If you change the method of how you grow your crop, how you cultivate crops, the result also changes. Okay. Now the changes are often influenced by various factors, and some of them are physical. There are physical factors, environmental factors, technological factors, and also socio-cultural practices of human beings. So these influence change that occurs in the cultivation method used by agriculturists or used in agriculture. Okay, physical in the sense that how landscape, whether the land is fertile, whether it's infertile, that also influences certain change in the agriculture method. Okay, the environment, how the environment is, that also impacts whether the environment is clean, whether it's polluted, etc. Okay, technology also impacts. With the improved modern machines like tractors or machines to harvest, right, or machines to sow seeds, many seeds at one time. Okay, so all that technological development also influences the cultivation method. The practices of the farmers, of the people in villages or in the countryside, some practice typical or specific cultivation practices. Okay, these farming practices are practiced by, or these are used by certain communities across our country, and that also changes or influences the cultivation method in agriculture. Okay, so after we have understood how the agriculture is important, what agriculture is, and how it has changed, it has seen changes in the method of cultivation of crops. Now we must look to different types of farming. So there are different types of farming, okay, as a result of which the crops are grown, the crops are harvested. Okay, now these different types of farming, they depend on two main factors. A type of farming always depends on one of these factors. All right, so the first factor is called physical factor, the second is called human factor. The type of farming is influenced by, or it depends on physical factors. That means that the farming depends on the relief, the physical, the geographical features of the landscape. Okay, whether it's fertile, whether it's sandy, whether it's rocky, etc. The climate, that also influences the type of farming that farmers do or the farmers practice in a particular region. The location also causes a certain type of farming to be practiced in one particular area. Okay, the other factor, which is human factor, that influences the type of farming, those are cultural backgrounds of the people, availability of irrigation, and agricultural practices of the human beings, that goes on to form a very specific type of farming. Okay, so these two factors are responsible for forming a specific type of farming which is practiced by the farmers or agriculturists in a certain area. So as we move on to the first topic of this lesson, we'll look at different types of agriculture. Right? Now the first type of agriculture is called primitive subsistence. This type of agriculture or this type of farming is also known as slash and burn farming. Okay, now this slash and burn farming or primitive subsistence, this is known all across the country by different names. Okay, so for example, it is called Bewar or Dahiya in Madhya Pradesh, Podu or Penda in the state of Andhra Pradesh, Kumari in Western Ghat, Juming in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, Nagaland, etc. So you see that slash and burn farming has different names in different states. Okay. Now how does this farming take place? What do the farmers do? Now the farmers in this type of farming, they clear, slash and burn a small piece of land. The piece of land where they are going to cultivate, they select that piece of land, they slash, they cut down all the trees, bushes, and they burn the unwanted bushes and grasses. Okay, and there they grow their cereals or crops to sustain themselves. So the cultivation done with this type of farming is basically done in a small piece of land, and that is for the sustenance of the people who are cultivating. Okay, in this type of farming, the entire family or the community of that particular area work on the land. Okay, everybody takes active part in the process of farming. Here, primitive tools, not modern. Primitive is opposite of modern. Okay, so primitive tools such as hoe, digging sticks, dhow are used. No modern tools of agriculture are used in this type of farming. No fertilizers or manure is used here. Okay, hence the productivity is low because they don't add extra manure, extra chemical fertilizers to yield good harvest. Okay, and they depend, this kind of farming depends upon monsoon, rainfall, okay, natural fertility of the soil, suitability of the other environmental conditions. Alright, so this is the method used for primitive subsistence or slash and burn farming. Now let's see what kind of crops are grown. Cereals and other food crops are grown. Okay, tuber crops like yams, cassava and sweet potatoes are grown with the use of slash and burn farming. Alright. Now the second type of farming is called intensive subsistence farming. Okay. Now obviously from the term itself, from the name itself, we understand that this is an intensive kind of farming, which means it is a labor intensive farming method. Okay, this means that it depends on the farmers and other laborers to cultivate in that particular plot of land. Okay, the work of the labor, the involvement of the labor is heavily needed in this kind of farming. Okay, in this kind of farming, high doses of biochemical inputs or fertilizers and irrigation are used to obtain higher production. So in this kind of farming, their main motive or main aim is to make sure that the production is very high. So in order to make sure that the production is very high, they use fertilizers, they use manures. Okay. Now in this kind of farming, every bit of cultivable land is used. So the farmers make sure that every bit of land is used for farming. They do not leave any land. Okay, like the slash and burn farming, the farmers would only use a small plot of land, right? And the rest they would not bother to cultivate in that plot of land. But here in the intensive subsistence farming, the farmers make sure that they use every bit of land available. Okay. And they also make sure that they farm in a land where there is adequate water, okay, where they have all the supplies, all the things they need for the cultivation, okay. And when there is inadequate water or when water is not enough, they make sure that irrigation is used. Channels are built so that water is brought from other areas towards that plot of land, okay. And when the land is hilly, they don't leave hilly areas thinking that this is hilly and it will be difficult for cultivation, but they use the hilly areas as well. How do they use? They make terraces and cultivate in that terrace lands. Okay, in many areas swamps are drained, areas where it is wet and it's swampy. So in those areas the water is drained out and then they use it for cultivation of paddy. Okay. So the chief crops which are grown by using intensive subsistence farming are paddy, sugarcane, soybean, sorghum, wheat, vegetables, etc. The third type of farming is called commercial farming. Now this kind of farming is different from the slash and burn and the intensive subsistence. Okay. In this type of farming, the farmers use high yielding variety seeds, the seeds which have high harvest, okay, high yield. They get at the time of harvest, they make sure that the production is very high. They use chemical fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides in order to obtain higher productivity and production. So here in this type of farming also, the main aim is to make sure that the productivity or the production is very high. Okay. Plantation is one type of commercial farming. We know tea plantation, coffee plantation, and all other type of plantation. Okay, so this falls under commercial type of farming. Now in plantation, what happens? A single crop is grown in a large area. So large areas are brought under cultivation of a single crop. For example, tea plantation is just one crop, which is tea. But the tea is cultivated in massive areas. Entire hills and meadows are covered. Okay, those areas are used for the cultivation of tea. And that kind of cultivation of one single crop is called plantation. Alright, and this type of agriculture is characterized by some of the features are cultivation of cash crops for export market. So the crops which are often cultivated in this using this type of farming, they are used for export. They're exported out of the country to foreign countries. Okay, and these crops are called cash crops. Okay, which have high demand in the market and are often exported. Okay. And in this type of farming, crops are grown on massive tracts of land. And in this kind of cultivation or farming, capital is invested or investments are made. Large sum of money are invested for these kind of production or cultivation. Okay. And migrant laborers are employed in these kind of farming. So we already know that this kind of cultivation takes place in huge areas. So for that to happen, lot of laborers, a large number of laborers are often required, and sometimes the need for the workers are so much that they have to bring people or hire laborers or workers from outside of that region. So for example, if Darjeeling, district of Darjeeling has tea plantation, right? But the laborers that work in the tea plantation are the local people as well as those who come from other states. So from the states of Bihar, the states of Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, etc. Okay, so the migrant laborers are employed in these kind of plantations. Most of the products that are produced, they are used as raw materials for industries, and hence they have an efficient network system of communication and transport. Okay, so most of the produce which come out as a result of commercial farming are not only used for export, but they're also used as raw materials for industries, for factories. Okay, so these are some of the important characteristics of the commercial farming. Now let us look at what kind of crops are grown through this type of farming. So the crops are wheat, rice, tea, coffee, rubber, sugarcane, bamboo and banana. Okay, banana plantations are found in southern part of India. Tea is grown in Assam, North Bengal, and coffee is grown in the Nilgiri Hills, Karnataka, and spices are grown in Kerala. Bamboo is grown in the northeastern part of our country, and rice, which is a commercial crop, it's grown in Punjab and Haryana. All right. So here we have some questions. Now we'll go through them together. Alright. The first question is, the most important occupation of the people of India is? Option A, food gathering, B, agriculture, C, manufacturing, D, services. The correct answer is B, agriculture. The next question. Which of the following types of economic activity is agriculture? Primary activity, secondary activity, tertiary activity, all of the above. So the correct answer is primary activity. When we say agriculture, it's always associated with the primary sector of economic activity. Okay. The secondary activity involves industries, manufacture, and the tertiary activity involves banking services, transportation, etc. Alright. The next question. Rice is a subsistence crop in Orissa. In which of the following states is rice a commercial crop? West Bengal and Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Haryana, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The correct answer is Punjab and Haryana. In these two states, rice is a commercial crop. Commercial crop meaning it is grown so that it is exported to other states and sometimes to foreign countries. Alright. The next question. Which one of the following describes a system of agriculture where a single crop is grown on a large tract of land or area? A. Shifting agriculture, B. Plantation agriculture, C. Horticulture, D. Intensive agriculture. The correct answer is plantation agriculture. It's where a single crop is cultivated or grown on a large area. Alright. The next question. What is agriculture? So agriculture is a process of producing food, seed, fiber, and goods by the systematic raising of plants and animals. Alright. The next question. What is primitive farming? Mention any two characteristics. Primitive farming is also known as slash and burn farming. The first characteristic is farmers clear, slash and burn a small piece of land to grow crops. And number two, it involves use of primitive tools of agriculture such as hoe, digging sticks, etc. The next question. Which type of farming is slash and burn? Why is the land abandoned after a few years? So the type of farming which is called slash and burn, it is primitive subsistence farming. the answer to why is the land abandoned after a few years, in primitive farming or slash and burn farming, the land which is used for cultivation of crops, that particular land is abandoned after a few years. In that land, no cultivation takes place after a few years. That is because that land does not remain fertile anymore. Okay, so a plot of land is used for cultivation for few years. After that, that very plot of land is not used for cultivation, rather it is abandoned. It's because that land no longer remains fertile. Okay, it loses its fertility. The next question is, what is intensive subsistence farming? How is it practiced? Intensive subsistence farming is a labor-intensive farming method. It is practiced by using high doses of biochemical inputs and irrigation to obtain high productivity. In this type of farming, a farmer ensures or makes sure that every bit of land is used for cultivation of crops. All right. So with that, we move on to the second topic, and in this topic we'll look at cropping pattern. Now we looked at, before this we understood what agriculture is. Then we also understood different types of agriculture, right? Now we'll look at how the crops are grown. Okay, how and when the crops are grown. Is there a time for crops to be grown, or is there not time, and crops can be cultivated at any time? Okay, in India there are 3 cropping seasons, meaning the crops are sown or the crops are grown at 3 particular seasons. Okay, there are 3 separate times. They are called Rabi, Kharif and Zaid. Okay, these are the 3 cropping seasons. Now let's look at the Rabi cropping season. Now in this season, crops are sown from the month of October to December. Okay, and the sown crops are harvested from the month of April to June. Now the crops that are sown during this particular season, they are wheat, barley, peas, gram and mustard. And these kind of crops are grown in north and northwestern parts of our country. So some of the states that fall in these areas are Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Now, in this kind of sowing, in the rabi crops in this season, the availability of precipitation or rain or monsoon during the winter helps in the growth of the crops. So we know that the crops are sown in winter, and the rain that these areas receive during the winter helps in the proper growth of the crops. Okay, and also for these crops, the green revolution also provides impetus. Impetus meaning extra support, extra encouragement. Okay, all right. Now the second is kharif, that is the second cropping season. Now in this particular season, the crops are sown at the start of rainy season or monsoon in June, and the same crops are harvested from the month of September to the month of October. Okay, and the crops that are sown during this season, they are paddy, maize, jawar, bajra, tur, mung, urad, cotton, jute, groundnut, soybean, etc. Alright, and these crops are sown in the states of Assam, West Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Now the third season is called Zaid. Now this is the season which is short. It is short. It is not long cropping seasons such as kharif and rabi. They are long ones, alright. But the zaid is short, and this season falls right in between the two rabi and kharif cropping seasons, alright. So in this season, the crops are grown in the short period which falls between rabi and kharif seasons, alright. And the crops that are grown are watermelons, muskmelons, cucumber, vegetables, fodder, etc. Alright. Here we have some questions for us. The first one is, which of the following is a rabi crop? Rice, gram, millets, cotton. The correct answer is gram. The second question, which of the following crops are produced during Zaid cropping season? Sugarcane, mushmelon, groundnut, moong. So this mushmelon, the spelling is incorrect. It should be muskmelon. So the correct answer for this question is B, muskmelon. The next question, state the growing and harvesting periods of rabi crops. So the growing or sowing period is from October to December, and harvesting period is from April to June. Alright. The next question, when are rabi crops sown? Name two rabi crops. So rabi crops are sown from October to December. Examples of rabi crops are gram, mustard. The next question, what is zaid? Zaid is one of the cropping season. It is the short season which falls between rabi and kharif seasons. Alright. The next question, what are the main cropping seasons in India? So there are three cropping seasons in India, and they are number one, Rabi. Number 2, kharif. And the third one is called zaid. Alright.